Hello and welcome to another episode of Into the Afroverse with your host, William Jones. And Into the Afroverse is where we're taking Black folks into the future. Today we are welcoming educational media mogul, Hotep. Hotep was born in New York City in the 1970s. Hotep is an embodiment of the progress made during the civil rights movements, the birth of hip-hop music, and the prominence of pro-Black African consciousness in American culture. After graduating from Morehouse College, he became one of the only Black male elementary school teachers in his district. There, he learned firsthand how powerful and influential media is on human minds and psyche. These experiences led Hotep to become an entrepreneur. This brother has so many things to his name, so much that he's doing, so much he's working on, that I want to hurry up and bring him on in and we can get right into it. So with that, I'd like to welcome Brother Hotep to Into the Afroverse. How you doing today, brother?
Oh man, it's an honor and a pleasure. Every time I get an opportunity to talk about these issues that are important to us as Black people, and particularly the opportunity to share some of the things that I'm working on as I continue on my mission personally to build strong children. So thank you, William, and into the Afroverse because what you guys are doing. I don't want to be. I don't want to allow it to be understated. The importance of envisioning Black people in the future, because for too long, every time there was a movie about the future, there were no Black people. You understand?
Exactly, exactly.
So they forgot about us, or they left us, or they killed us off. I don't know
Right.
what the story is, but we weren't there.
Yeah, they try to tell us something. That's the way I look at it.
Hmm.
So give us a little bit more on your story. I gave a very brief overview and I left off with you becoming an entrepreneur. And I talked about the fact that you saw the power of media and its use in the classroom, I'm assuming beyond. So give us a little more about yourself and tell us how you got to where you are right now.
Man, let me see how I can condense this in a little short amount of time. So, I mean, you did a great job with the intro because it kind of gives um, the short of it. But bringing me now into becoming an educator and an entrepreneur, which both basically started around the same time. I left New York to attend Morehouse College, and there, being an HBCU, I got a chance to visit other schools like mine, and I just noticed that all the Black, the HBCUs were in the middle of the hood. So as much as we're considered the talented tenth and the cream of the crop of are great examples of our community, we're surrounded by destitute, poverty, and crime and such. So I just got into education as a result of recognizing how important it is to help us get out of the conditions that we are in, get ourselves out of that condition,
Right.
as opposed to waiting for other people to do it for us. And then in the music industry, my first, stab at entrepreneurship was in the music industry because, you said where I was born and when I was born. I was born the year hip hop started. So when we celebrated 50, I celebrated 50. You
Right.
understand?
Right.
And so I'm a part of all of that. And so, I started with the music industry and then just thinking outside of the box, which is one of my greatest assets and abilities. I transitioned from music to the film industry, film into writing books, and then writing books really took things to another level because I realized that people like what I do, but more often than not, they're more interested in how I do it.
Mhm.
And so the how is what led me to expanding beyond teaching little kids in the classroom to teaching adults how to make a way for themselves. You understand? Consistently without the financing or support or endorsement or anybody else, how to do it on your own. You understand?
Right.
Um, and so that was the space that I was in because I was a living example of that with my music and my film. And then when the book came out, The Hustler's 10 Commandments, it took me to a whole nother level of being considered, a thought leader and a speaker. And so I toured with the book, and then it just kind of just spiraled out, man. I just started getting into all the different forms of media. You know what I'm saying? So that's why at this point I'm a media mogul, because I have so many different forms of media that I create and monetize as well. So and really all of that is really part of that hip hop spirit, because every form of media is just another way of expressing oneself. You see what I'm saying? So you fast forward all that to what I'm doing now with the anime series Black Lion, or the anime brand, not series, but brand Black Lion and Cubs. That's why Black Lion and Cubs has really taken off so quickly, and with so many different IP properties. It's because all the different things I was doing in the past are now we're just basically practice for what I'm doing now with Black Lion and Cubs. And so that's the reason why within this anime brand, not only do I have a cartoon, but I have graphic novels, I have books, I have video games, I have cards, I have, so many different things, because I'm just continuing that trend of expressing myself in as many different ways as I feel like.
So what was it about the medium of animation that made you go that route? Are you, in terms of your background, did you feel this is the best way to reach young people? What is it that spoke to you in that arena?
So for Black Lion and Cubs, uh, so I skipped over two of the most important experiences of my life.
Hmm.
The first was marriage to my wife, and the second, well, I should say three, the second two were the births of my sons.
Hmm.
And so fatherhood, in addition to everything else that I just mentioned, just put a cap on it for me. It really just transformed my life in so many different ways. I really enjoy being a father. And one of the parts I do enjoy is the opportunity to share what I know and what I've been through with my children.
Hmm.
And so, for all parents out there, I know they all do. We all do the same thing. Let me. Oh, you like that song? Let me play you some real music right here. You understand? Or hey, this is how we used to do it in our day. So, um, as I was doing that, I was sharing some of the things I grew up on. The music, the film, the cartoons in particular. Um, and so I was sharing, the stuff I came up on in the 80s: Thundercats, Transformers, Voltron, Dungeons and
Man.
Dragons. Hey, 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 see,
Yes,
you
sir.
tell them on yourself. Yeah, okay, okay. So you around my
That is
era.
correct. That is
Yes,
correct.
sir. And so, I started sharing that with them. And then my children had a chance to, because my niece was living in our basement, my niece was sharing with them some of the anime of today. And so I was like, well, what's popping? Because my days of fandom, really ended once I went to college. I got into business, got into girls and all that kind of stuff. So my fandom days ended in 1991. Anybody ask me? All my fandom days, whether it's music, sports, Magic Johnson, he caught, he made that announcement. It was a wrap for me. You understand? Everything
Right,
happened in 1991.
right.
So in any case, I don't know what's happening in anime today, but my niece kind of bridged that gap by sharing some of it with my kids. But when I looked at it, what she was sharing with them, I'm like, yo, I don't want my kids watching this. You understand? I'm like, yo, this ain't, it's not appropriate for my children. You understand? First of all, they real young, and
Right,
that stuff is too violent, too overly sexual. You
right.
understand? And on top of that, you don't see any of us. You know what I'm saying? And so that's when I got the idea. I said, well, shoot, you kids like this? Daddy can do that. You understand? And that's literally the attitude. It's the same way our moms used to say, oh, you like McDonald's? I can make a much better burger.
Right.
You understand? So that's kind of the same spirit. It came, that touched me when I noticed my kids like what I was sharing with them and what my niece was sharing with them. Um, so I kind of bridged the gap. So, I decided anime for that reason. And then once I stepped into it, I realized I thought I was stepping into a little puddle.
Right.
Man,
Oh yeah,
this
it's vast. It's
man,
an ocean.
what? Man. it's 3/4 of the planet, as you know, right? So
Right,
it's crazy. Like I'm like, man, I just didn't realize what I was stepping into. So
right,
once I started, getting into it and seeing, what the how expansive the anime industry was, I said, oh, I this remind it reminded me of the hip hop industry in the '90s when I was a part of that here in Atlanta.
right,
You see what I'm saying? So it's now invigorating me in so many different ways. I was a fan of anime, didn't know it was anime back in the '80s with Voltron. You see what I'm saying?
exactly.
And then my kids like it. I'm able to now create something that reflects us, that reflects things that I believe are important, messages that I think are important for my kids to know, and other, young people around the world, even adults.
Right,
It allows me to do it in a retro style. So anybody that sees anything I create for Black Lion and Cubs, it's always retro because those were the days that I loved. You
right,
understand? So I don't know. Again, I don't know what any of these cats is doing with anime today. I don't watch that stuff. That's not what I do. You know what I'm saying? I reference my the little knowledge that I have based off of what I do know and what I have experienced. So my reference points are always the original NES. You
right.
know what I'm saying? The Castlevania, Mega Man, Rygar, all those games I used to play. Those cartoons I mentioned earlier, '80s golden age hip hop.
Right.
You understand? So anything that you see from Black Lion and Cubs, you will see evidence of all of that, mixed with the fact that um, I am familiar with one big brand in anime called Dragon Ball Z, and I've
Right.
never watched Dragon Ball Z, but I'm familiar that it exists because it's such a big deal. And
Now,
so, go ahead. I'm sorry, I
I was
talk a
like,
lot. You
no,
gotta
that's
hustle.
quite all right, brother. It's just that, as far as listening to audience, I know we got some anime heads out there and we got some other folks that enjoy animation and so forth, but I want to make sure we don't lose, some of the audience that may not be familiar with some of the brands you're talking about. And if you're just joining us, this is Into the Afroverse with your host, William Jones, and Into the Afroverse is where we take Black folks into the future. And we're joined today by Brother Hotep. Um, I want to get to this lion and cubs that you keep referencing. What is that about? What can consumers expect to see when they go and they look at this brand, this label of lion and cub?
Black Lion and Cubs.
Black lion and cub.
So, Black Lion and Cubs is a family-friendly anime brand that features Black heroes. It
Mhm.
is the first of its kind. There has never been anything like this done. I launched Black Lion and Cubs first. Actually, this is the first iteration of the idea of Black Lion and Cubs started 1 year ago this month.
Oh, okay.
Exactly 1 year ago this month. It was Black History Month. And I just because I knew my kids, liked anime, I said, I just hired somebody to draw a picture of me and my boys in anime style. And that idea spiraled and snowballed into the anime series, 3-part anime series that I have on Black Education Station, or your audience should know about Black Education Station. They should know about that, not just because my anime is on there, but because it's like a big deal. It's like
Right.
Netflix and Disney, but Black owned and Black created and all that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, it's a family friendly anime brand that I created based off of the inspiration from fatherhood.
Mhm.
The core message for Black Lion and Cubs is true power comes from within. That's the underlying theme. It's a message that I know true and know very well, but I find lacking in our community on many levels, especially amongst adults, but also amongst our children. And again, my mission to build strong children uh, has led me to do it, in a way that the kids can be involved in
Mhm.
the anime without us as parents being ashamed of what we show in our kids. You
Right.
see,
I see. So when you talk about building strong kids, in your opinion, when and where did our community start to go astray? Or what do you think factored into our community going astray?
that's a great question, man. I have to, if there's any big moment in time that I think really shifted things for us. It was the civil rights movement and integration.
Hmm.
Um, I think as much as integration, I believe, was well intended, the the negative aspect that impacted us is uh, feeding into the idea that the white man's ice is colder.
Right.
You see, and so you know, people don't like to talk about this, but I talk about it anytime I get because it's true. In America, we as Black people suffer from a inferiority complex. Now we don't like to admit it, but it's true. And obviously that came from, the condition of slavery that was placed upon many of us. And also just white colonialism around the world and the big snow job they did with Christianity. So as a result of those things, actually, it's even I'd say Christianity before the civil rights movement and integration.
Uh,
I'm gonna start with Christianity.
mhm.
Is it okay for me to talk about
Please,
it?
hey, that's why I brought you on, brother.
Okay. Listen, people know I talk it the way I know it, and sometimes people, it rubs people the wrong way, but it's not my fault that it is the case. All
Right.
right. When it came to Christianity, part of the reason why we suffer from an inferiority complex is because of the vision of a white Jesus that many of us uh, see
Hmm.
and believe in. And now some people will say, well, it doesn't matter what color Jesus. No, it matters 100%
Right.
because if you believe that the Son of God looks white, then somewhere deep in your consciousness, you believe God is white.
Right.
And so if the Son of the Creator is white, and the creator is white and you don't look anything like that, then obviously those people are special in your mind and your consciousness somewhere. Those people are special and great and aligned with those things, and you are absolutely not.
Mhm.
You understand? So starting from there, many of us, have suffered from this condition of inferiority, belief of being inferior.
Right.
Then you go to the civil rights movement and you have the desire for us to want to have what white people have and be in the places and spaces where white people are. Because part of that is because we believe they are superior and what they have is superior. Their schools are superior. Everything they have is greater than ours. So we need what they have, and so we need access to everything they have and be around those people. And um, uh, so it's that idea that led to, we have this integration that we wanted to fight for that. We're integrated. Yay, we have equality. We have equal access to the things that they have. But the negative side to that is that now we, because we attribute, their ice, that expression, their
Right.
ice is something that they have is better.
Right.
We left the idea that we could create our own.
Gotcha.
We left the spirit of creating our own, building our own, and that was replaced by let's get on theirs, let's be a part of theirs. And so all of that feeds into what's happening today. You can see it all the time. We're waiting for Disney to do better by us and represent us. We're asking for our quote unquote, in some ways, our master, our superior to do for us the things that we can and should do for ourselves. And so that's part of the reason why the message for Black Lion and Cubs, as I mentioned earlier, is true power comes from within. You see, it's a reminder to all of us that it is no one else's responsibility to represent us or
Mhm.
to do right by us, but ours. And if other people aren't doing or doing wrong by us, then it's our responsibility to protect ourselves. You understand? It's our response. So my point is, whatever any way you want to, peel that onion, the message is that we as a people need to understand our divine nature and power
Mhm.
and start utilizing it to transform the world in the way we want to see it, as opposed to waiting and asking and fighting for other people to do it for us.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a big part of what Afrofuturism is all about, envisioning a future where you don't have the limitations that are placed upon us now in terms of our thinking. So if you're just joining us, this is Into the Afroverse with your host, William Jones. And Into the Afroverse is we're taking Black folks into the future. And today we're joined by Hotep. and we're talking about Black Lion and Cub. In terms of content, with all that you talked about in terms of the things that are plaguing us, in your opinion, as a community, what's in your work that counteracts some of those things that you just mentioned?
Man, okay. Well, I have to say everything that everything that I do is designed to counteract that poverty mindset, that
Mhm,
slave mentality. Um, and so, you know, if we're talking about Black Lion and Cubs, it's that message. True power comes from within. It's helping, and it's starting with children because, as Frederick Douglass said, it's easier to build strong children than repair broken men.
mhm.
You see, so that statement has resonated. I'll say it again for your audience because I speak about these things very quickly and it sometimes goes over people's head. I have to restate it because it's so important and true. It is easier to build strong children than repair broken men.
Right.
Because I've had the great pleasure and honor of being an educator, teaching kindergarten, and then also later in my life, coaching entrepreneurs, I can tell you for a fact that that statement is incredibly true,
Hmm.
fundamentally true, and also a part of the challenge that we have in our community and in every community, because that statement is true for all races, right?
Right.
That we're dealing with a bunch of adults who are broken,
Right.
huh? We're dealing with broken people, and we're trying to get them to do right or do better and all these different things, and we're struggling trying to help people help themselves. Because at the end of the day, they've been conditioned not to help themselves,
Hmm.
or they've been so broken over the years that they don't know how to, don't know how to fend for themselves, don't want to fend for themselves, or it's so difficult that you just give it up. Just tired. I'm tired of dealing with you people. You understand?
Right.
I'm gonna deal with the kids
I
because the
got
kids are ready to learn. They want to learn. They're
you. Right.
sponges, ready to soak it up. You
Right.
see? So, in any case, that's why Black Lion and Cubs is an anime brand, but family friendly because it's designed for parents to share with their children and everyone from 0 to 80. You know what I'm
Got
saying? Anyone can enjoy it, can have conversations about it. Of course, there's Black heroes because the image of ourselves is important, and seeing ourselves as heroes, as powerful beings, as gods, and all those different things, that's important for us to see. Right? That's how it counteracts that that inferiority complex.
you. I
Okay,
see.
uh, and then also making sure that I have African themes, because along with the inferiority complex is the idea that Africa and African history is inferior, or so on and so forth. So that has to be placed in a context that's anti that. You see,
Got you. Got you.
so that's why. Yeah, yeah, you got it.
And real quick, before I forget, where can folks find your work? How can they access it?
Okay, so anything attributed to, if you want to follow what I'm doing or see what I'm up to, everything's going to be Black Lion and Cubs, IG at Black Lion and Cubs, website blacklionandcubs.com. If you want to watch the actual anime, the cartoon itself, you have to go to Black Education Station. Let me speak a little bit about that real quick, because part of the reason why I made sure that my series was exclusive to Black Education Station is because I love what they're doing. They're aligned with my beliefs. The fact that this is, you're talking about a network, a streaming service, just like Netflix. I mean, you go to blackeducationstation.com, or go to your Roku or whatever, Amazon, wherever you find Netflix, you can find Black Education Station. They're competing with the best, and they're again not waiting for Netflix to do it, right? Not waiting for them to do a special or put a token in a movie, or put
Right.
one actors. No, they have a whole network designed, dedicated to Black excellence in education in particular. And you guys, I'm sure you and your audience knows what's happening across our country, starting with Florida, but Florida's not the only one
Oh,
where these people are trying to erase our history. You
right.
understand? I'm trying to, I mean, literally in our face. I mean, bold,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
saying we're
They're
not
not
going to talk
hiding it. Exactly.
about it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, again, what are black folk gonna do? You gonna march again? You know what I'm saying? You gonna boycott? Or how about you invest your time and energy in something that's so anyway, don't get me started. You're gonna give me an opinion or something in a second. Anyway, yeah,
Right.
Black Education Station is where you can watch it. And that's blackeducationstation.com or any of your apps. You can download it and subscribe to Black Education Station. Um, or Black Lion and Cubs is my website.
Excellent. Sir, we are quickly coming up on the close of today's episode. Do you have any words of wisdom, any additional words of wisdom you'd like to leave us with?
Um, that's a great question. I hopefully, I heard you say it, and hopefully, uh, every time I answer a question, I do so with wisdom,
Hmm.
right? Every time I speak, I hope that I represent the best of us, um, uh, great ideas, thoughtful, and even provocative ideas based off of wisdom, of course, that people can take with them. So, that being said, I don't really have anything more to contribute for this conversation. However, I'll say this, Doc. Anytime you want me on your show, I ain't nothing but a phone call, IG message, text, email. To say, Hotel, hey, I want you back to have a discussion about this, that, and the other. And I would be happy to throw some more on the plate, man, and cook it up with you.
Excellent. Thank you. So you heard it, folks. You know, if you're looking for something to gift to a youngster, age appropriate, something that is also enlightening as well as entertaining, check out Black Lion and Cub. And that's you said they can watch the animated series on the Black Education Station, right?
Black Lion and Cubs with an S, plural. Black Lion and Cubs, a father and two sons.
Excellent, excellent. So be sure to check it out and be sure to support them because once again, ladies and gentlemen, we can talk about what we want to see and we can talk about what other folks aren't doing, but we need to celebrate and support those of us that are doing the work. Brothers like Hotep, he's doing the work. He's giving us what it is we claim we want to see. So let's prove it. Let's show them. Let's vote with our attention. Let's vote with our dollars and go out and support this brother. Hotep, thank you so much for joining us today. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you, my brother. Take care of yourself.
Excellent. So that'll do it for another episode of Into the Afroverse with your host, William Jones. And remember, Into the Afroverse is we're taking Black folks into the future. And once again, people are always asking, what can they do to support Into the Afroverse? Please go to the website, afrofuturismnet.com, so you can see how you can support. Also, be sure to check us out on our YouTube if you want to hear previous episodes. Just look under Afrofuturism Network. And also like to send a special shout out to Mr. Duke Productions for producing today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, you take care of yourselves and have a good day.